Hi there. This video is for my students for the beading class at Sunbury Shores. We will be working with 20 gauge wire. This is for our ear hooks as shown on this earring here. We will be using 22 gauge as shown here for making head pins, although it is acceptable to use 20 gauge wire for your beads so long as you know the hole is big enough. To begin, you're probably going to want to cut off a piece of wire about 2.5 inches. You're going to want to try a sample in another wire besides your sterling silver or gold due to the cost. You're going to hold your wire at its very tip so that you can file it. I have two files here. One is a half round ring file, one is a small needle file. It doesn't matter which one feels better in your hands so long as you use the flat side. So you're going to use the flat side, and holding your hand against something, you're going to file away from you and file the top of your wire flat. That's so that when you curl it around, it touches and it will meet. I'm using an extra heavy wire so that you can see it better in this little demonstration. We're going to be using round nose pliers, flat nose pliers, chain nose pliers, as well as a pair of snips. In our pliers, this is the body or the handle. The tip is always considered the jaws. So for the first one, you're going to use round nose pliers, which if you look at the jaws, they're tapered and go to a perfectly round nose at the end. If you look at your chain nose, they are tapered but flat in the inside. They do not have plumbing lines like normal plumbing pliers. Your flat nose have flat angles to the tip, and if you look at the tip, you will see that there's two parallel flat jaws. So that is why they're called that, and snips are simply something to cut your wire with. As I said, good snips can come from Canadian Tire. We are going to start with the round nose and our piece of wire. We're going to hold the long tail to the left, the short tail to the right. You are going to be looking not at the side of your pliers, but you want to look completely down at the very tip. You want your wire to not stick beyond your jaws, and you want to choose how far down on your pliers you want to go so that you're going to make. And if you look at my hands, you're going to be doing small, where you open the jaws and close them, and you keep going until you have a lollipop man. But this lollipop man has his head to the side because he's asleep. You're going to flip him down on his stomach. You're going to hold him by his head, and you are going to take You're going to take a pen and you're going to lay it along his back. The pen doesn't do anything but hold a spot. You're going to use your thumb to take that wire and wire it up around the pen. When your thumb can't go any farther, you're going to stop, hold the wire in place. You're going to take that long piece of wire to one side of the pen, to the other side of the pen, and back again. Why do we do that? It's to temper the wire, to slightly harden it, because you'll find that as you bring it around, it makes this part a little work hardened. You will then decide how long you want your ear hook to be. Too short means it might pull out of your ear. Too long is definitely too long. I'm going to take the snips and do it about this length. I will then take my file, and this time I will file round. I will go round the sides. I will go up over the top until I have a nice rounded tip. How will I know if I'm done? I will know if I'm done, because if it doesn't leave a mark on my wrist, then it's smooth enough to go for my ear. The very last thing you will do is take your chain nose and you will make a slight tip in your ear wire so it doesn't pull out of your ear. And of course, as always, we've got to make a second one exactly the same as the first. So you know everything that you need to know to make some dangles. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to remind you that how we open a loop is we open sideways. We never open directly on. So if I was going to feed any one of these on, I would feed it on and go back and close sideways. Okay? So remember that. That's really important. The thing that almost everybody is forgetting is that you know how to roll up the end. You know how to put your beads on. But what everybody seems to be doing is forgetting that. And I'm going to cut this head off here. I'm going to round this flat. I'm going to turn this so that we have a lollipop man who's asleep. Okay? But there's two mistakes that everybody's making. One is forcing the wire over so it becomes oval instead of round. And the second is forgetting that we can't leave this like this. We have to put our pliers back in, not at the side, but where it meets here at the base. And we pull this straight so that we have an upright and awake lollipop man. But you can probably see there's still one problem. That circle is still a little bit too open. So I'm going to go back in with the pliers and just tighten it up a bit. I'm also going to straighten my man from all angles so that he's straight and consistent. He's not leaning, he's not tired, so that everything looks nice, neat, and professional. If I wanted to make a bracelet, I would just make an entire number of these units, open up the tops, hook them together. But you don't want to make your units very big for a bracelet. If you make your units too big, what will happen is that you will have this big bracelet that doesn't go around your wrist. But that is a rosary unit. That is a non-permanent unit that you can use to bead up anything that ultimately you're not afraid of losing. This week, we are going to talk about wrapped ear hook, wrapped unit, and we're going to make a spiral earring. So I hope this is a good reminder, and I'll see you.